Robinhood stock closed Friday at $107.30, up just over 1% for the day. It was a green finish in a market that finally bounced after several sessions in the red. But what makes today interesting is not the closing price. It's the story behind the move. At one point in the session, Hood dipped down near the $100 level, a level that has become a psychological flaw for a lot of traders. Yet despite that weakness, buyers stepped back in and pushed the stock higher into the close. This combination of weakness followed by strength tells us the stock is at a critical turning point. And the weekend is exactly the moment to break down what's really going on, what matters, and what is likely to come next for Hood. The first thing to recognize is that Robinhood has had a huge amount of volatility in recent weeks. Some of that is tied to the broader market, which has been swinging sharply with shifting macro sentiment. But a lot of it is tied directly to the company itself. After reporting a massive third quarter earlier this month, with revenue doubling year over year and earnings beating expectations by a large margin, Hood saw a strong rally. Crypto transaction revenue surged more than 300% year over year, and user engagement climbed. Analysts raised price targets, institutional interest picked up, and the narrative turned decisively positive. But when a stock runs that hard, that fast, the expectations game changes. The bar moves higher, and the market begins to ask, can the next quarter match what we just saw? Can the growth continue? And is the current valuation justified when the company is still heavily dependent on volatile trading volumes and crypto activity? Those questions alone can trigger periods of intense price swings, because traders and institutions begin repositioning around those future scenarios. That's exactly what we've seen this week. The drop toward $100 wasn't the market saying Hood is broken. It was the market recalibrating. It was a natural pullback inside a larger trend. But what matters is what happened next. Buyers stepped back in. They didn't let the stock break down. And that matters because it suggests that, even with the volatility, there is confidence in the longer-term story. That confidence is what allowed the stock to finish Friday in the green, even if the session wasn't smooth. Now let's talk about the factors moving Hood right now. One of the biggest forces remains crypto. When crypto volumes rise, Robinhood's transaction revenue increases. When Bitcoin and Ethereum see strength, Hood benefits. And recently, crypto has held up reasonably well, even as tech stocks have faded. But the flip side is also true. If crypto pulls back, Hood feels it instantly. It's a double-edged sword. And that means investors are watching the crypto charts just as closely as they're watching the stock itself. Another major factor is the company's expansion strategy. Robinhood has been broadening its offerings: futures trading, advanced order types, retirement accounts, cash management products, and most importantly, the integration of Bitstamp in Europe. This acquisition opens an entire new market for Robinhood, giving it a real presence in European crypto trading. The market understands the potential in this global expansion, but it also understands the challenge. Integrating a major exchange is complex. It takes time. It requires regulatory navigation, cultural alignment, and technological consistency. Investors are optimistic, but they want to see how smoothly that integration goes. There's also the broader market context. The past 2 weeks have seen significant volatility across major indices. Inflation, interest rates, economic data, and shifting expectations around the Federal Reserve have all contributed to large swings. Higher beta names like Hood tend to magnify those swings. So part of the dip toward $100 was simply the market's risk-off movement. But again, Hood held up better than many expected, especially given the volatile environment. Another important factor is technical. When a stock approaches a round number like $100, traders pay attention. These levels act as psychological support zones. If Hood had broken below 100 and stayed there, we could have seen a much steeper sell-off. But because it bounced, traders now view that $100 range as a key support level. If the stock holds above that level, the next test is whether it can retake the 110 to 115 range, where there has been resistance. If it clears that area, the path back toward 120 and beyond becomes more realistic. But the story isn't just about charts. It's about what the market expects next. Robinhood beat expectations last quarter. Now investors want to know, was that a one-off, driven by a strong crypto environment, or is Robinhood entering a sustained growth phase? That question is what will shape the stock's direction heading into December and into early 2026. This weekend is a moment where the market pauses and reassesses those expectations. Another theme worth watching is insider behavior. When insiders buy, it signals confidence. When insiders sell, traders look for signs of caution. Recently, some insiders have taken profits, which isn't unusual after a big rally. But the market will watch closely for any additional filings that might indicate insider sentiment shifting. It's not the core driver of the stock, but in a high volatility environment, these signals are magnified. Now let's talk about what a good video angle is heading into the weekend. The real story right now is that Hood is being tested. The stock rallied hard after earnings. Then it cooled. Then it dipped. And now it's sitting at a crossroads, holding support and waiting for the next catalyst. The question investors are asking is whether the uptrend remains intact. That's the perfect weekend angle, focusing on the testing of support, the testing of momentum, and the testing of sentiment. A great angle is, has Robinhood's breakout run paused, or is it preparing for its next move? This angle lets you explore both sides, the bullish case driven by strong fundamentals, and the cautious case driven by valuation, volatility, and dependency on crypto. It gives your audience something actionable, what to watch next week, what levels matter, what signals indicate a breakout, and what signals indicate a breakdown. You can explain that Hood's path next week will likely depend on three things. First, whether crypto remains stable or moves higher. Second, whether market sentiment continues to improve after the recent series of red sessions. And third, whether institutions continue accumulating shares after the recent dip. If those three factors align, Hood could easily retest the 115 to 120 range. If they don't, the $100 support zone becomes crucial. Another powerful angle is the idea that Hood is transitioning from earnings momentum to execution momentum. The earnings beat is already priced in. The market knows what happened. Now it wants to see what comes next. Execution matters more than ever. That means product rollouts, international expansion, user growth, and revenue diversity are all under the microscope. Investors want to see consistency, not just one great quarter. You can also highlight how Hood's volatility is both an opportunity and a risk. Some traders thrive on price swings. Others are cautious around them. Either way, it's the type of environment that keeps the stock exciting and draws engagement on your channel. Framing the volatility as a proving ground gives you a compelling narrative that fits your style of analysis. As you close the video, you can reinforce that Hood is in a moment of balance. It has shown strength. It has shown vulnerability. And now it's waiting to show which direction it chooses next. That's why the weekend matters, because traders and institutions use these pauses to plan their next move. And when trading opens again next week, Hood will reveal whether this bounce off $100 was the start of a new leg higher, or just a temporary hold before more downside. Robinhood isn't just another stock. It's a sentiment stock. It's a retail trading proxy. And it's a company undergoing a major transformation. That's why every move is amplified. And that's why this story is far from over.